Hello and welcome to the safeguarding training for Duchy of Lancaster. Primary school aimed at volunteers, contractors, support staff, or anybody who missed the September update at the very start of term. There are a few routes through these videos depending upon your level of previous training and your employer. So if you have been updated already by your employer on the changes to keeping children safe in education 2024 and your safeguarding training is up to date, watching this video will discuss the processes that are for Duchy of Lancaster Primary School, and then there will be a link to a quiz at the end, as well as a document for you to sign. However, if you have not been updated on the changes to keeping children safe in education 2024 or have not read that document, this training also provides a link to a training presentation and quiz based on the changes for this that will work along with this video that will allow you to understand your safeguarding responsibility and the processes at Duchy of Lancaster Primary School. As always, if you have any questions, please ask. Right. So this is all about safeguarding at Duchy. And before we start, I would just like to remind everyone that you are welcome to pause this training at any point. There's some numbers on the screen that are available should any of these topics affect you in any way, or if you need support in the future. I am also always available to help and support you, whether you be a volunteer, a contracted member of staff, an employed member of staff from Duchy. I am willing to help and signpost you out. Right. The following slide contains a link to the safeguarding training that aligns with the Keeping Children Safe in Education 2024 update. If you have not completed training since September 2024 and you are not aware of this document or overall what safeguarding is, please complete this training and send your certificate to the email address on screen with the correct spelling of Trinity rather than Trainity Partnership. So let's define it. Trinity Partnership.norfolk.sch.uk. Right. So the training you can access is Safeguarding and Child Protection, an essential piece of training. You should be able to click on the slide if that's come through on the video, or use the QR code to access this. As always, there are two key documents that you need to read and be aware of. First one is Keeping Children Safe in Education, Part 1 and Annex B. The link's there on the screen. And the second document is Working Together to Safeguard Children. Whether your employer has provided safeguarding training, or you're using the link on the previous screen, or you have been trained at Duchy of Lancaster, these two documents are vital. Right, we're now moving on to the contextual part for Duchy of Lancaster, and this is vital for everyone who comes into Duchy of Lancaster and has contact with children to know. Firstly, I myself, Damon Finney, is the designated safeguarding lead. If you have concerns or worries, I would be your first port of call. However, if these relate to a disclosure from a child or relate to members of staff, there is a process to follow. If I'm not available, Kelly Coxidge or Kelly Clucas are both there to help you out. Our contact details with the correct spelling of Trinity are listed on the screen. This is our safeguarding team. We have additional roles wider than just being safeguarding leads. I myself am also the prevent lead, and by now you should have completed safeguarding training, so you'll understand prevent is the response to tackling radicalization, with the idea that it can happen anywhere, and thinking about all forms of extremism and how we can intervene and prevent children or potentially adults being drawn into this. So I'm your prevent lead. I am also a mental health first aider for staff or adults who work within the school. That's a responsibility I share with Kelly Coxedge. In terms of the dedicated teacher for children looked after or children previously looked after, that's Kelly Clucas, who is also our Senko. So, in summary, I am the designated safeguarding lead, the mental health first aider for staff, and the prevent lead. Kelly Coxedge is the deputy designated safeguarding lead and mental health first aider for staff, and Kelly Clucas is the the deputy designated safeguarding lead, the designated teacher for children looked after or previously looked after, and the Senko. Right. So safeguarding means providing help and support to meet the needs of children as soon as the problem emerges, protecting children from maltreatment with or outside the home, including online, preventing impairments of children's mental or physical health or development, making sure children receive safe and effective care, and taking action to ensure all children have the best outcomes. And this is everybody's responsibility. And it does happen at Duchy of Lancaster. And it's vital we all remain vigilant to this. Last year, staff at Duchy made 173 safeguarding referrals into the safeguarding team. 16 of these 117 referrals were then passed on to the local authority for further support to be put in place for the child. From this, 2 child protection plans were written, and we had 3 children identified as children in need. The most common safeguarding issues at Duchy of Lancaster were linked to parental separation, parental mental health and well-being. Both of those led to issues of neglect, emotional abuse, and the impact of attendance and persistent absence of children. In our local area of Breckland, neglect is the most common safeguarding issue, followed by mental health and well-being. So at Duchy, those two are kind of the other way round. Also in the local area, conspiracies and disinformation and online material pick and mix ideologies are common safeguarding issues, showing the importance of our prevent training. Right, just to reiterate that it's your responsibility in school. All adults who come in contact with children and their families have a role to play. If you're a sports coach, volunteer, teacher, teaching assistant, DSL caretaker, IT or data manager, it's your responsibility, along with being a catering staff, office staff, IT technician again, teacher or teaching assistant. So, what happens at Duchy if a child makes a disclosure to you? Well, firstly, you need to make sure that you're supportive and take the child seriously. Allow the child to lead the conversation, reassure them that they won't be in trouble, and part of your job is to keep them safe. Ask open questions, reflect back what they're saying to make sure you are clear in what's been said, and let the child know about what you are going to do next. Ask the child if it's okay to take notes if there's complicated detail being shared. Don't give the impression the child's creating a problem or make promises about keeping things confidential. Don't investigate it yourself or criticize the perpetrator. And don't be overly emotional. Now, when children share disclosures with you, they might do it in different ways. It might be a comment they say, I hate staying at my dad's house. Should a child say that? Ask them a bit more with question stems like, can you tell me more about that? Or tell me what that means? Or go on. So just invite them to elaborate. Don't include um, emotive language like, that sounds terrible for you. That must be horrible. What's bad about your dad's house? There are not things to say because you have already set the impression that the dad's house is bad and you're leading the conversation in a certain direction. Just by saying, tell me more, what do you mean? It allows the child to share their tone, their opinion, their feelings without an influence from you. You might notice self-harm or negative self-talk. Again, this can be quite difficult to see, but it's important you talk about it, you share it, and you make sure self-harm you see is referred to the designated safeguarding team. The children might write stories featuring abusive families or be acting inappropriately for their age. In these situations, you would just move straight forward with a referral, same with changes in behaviour. So we report on a system called CPOMS. However, in your role at school as a volunteer, catering staff, a contractor who's coming in, it's unlikely that you will have access to CPOMs. Therefore, in the staff room on the safeguarding board, there's a number of sheets that have been pinned to the wall that allows you to make a written report. When you complete that sheet making a written report, place it in an envelope and label it to the safeguarding team, or for the attention of Damon, or for the attention of Kelly Coxidge or Kelly Clucas. In completing that piece of paper, fill out all the information you are able to. If you find there's parts you're struggling with, please come and talk to one of the safeguarding teams. Do not share it with anybody outside of the safeguarding team or discuss the disclosure to other members of staff that are not their safeguarding lead or the two deputy safeguarding leads. When you write your report, we're looking for you to include a number of things. Firstly, it's vital that you include the date that the disclosure was made to you and also the time the disclosure was made to you. We ask you to do this in the first sentence. So on Monday, the 18th of September at 09:46 a.m. Or whatever the day, the date, and the time was in terms of the disclosure. Can you please write 24-hour clock time and label AM or PM to stop any confusion happening regarding time? Please write about yourself in the third person and include your role in brackets. So in this case, I'm writing the report, so I didn't say I noticed that. I wrote Damon Finney, brackets head teacher notice. So you may write your name, your role, catering manager or volunteer, and then write the full name of the child. That's the first name and surname. If you just include the first name or the initials, we may have other children in the school with the same initials or with the same first name and the same initial of surname, and then we do not know which child you are talking about. So always talk about yourself in the third person and include the first name and surname of the child. Then write what the concern is. So Rahim Ahmed was very withdrawn in class and did not want to join in with group activity. Damon, which is fine now because we're identified as Damon Finney, head teacher. So you can use your first name, asked. Raheem, again, we've named which Raheem it is, so it's okay to just say his first name. We know you're talking about Raheem Ahmed. Please make sure you don't use pronouns like I, him, they, at any point in the report because it can become confusing who you are talking about. If the concern then introduces another party, in the first instance, write their full name. So Raheem introduces Alicia Ahmed, and the relationship to Raheem is she is his mum. As we go on, you can see that anything the child said that's quoted word for word is in inverted commas, and that the child asked me not to talk to her mum about this, but I explained that I would have to tell Mrs. Smith, the DSL. In saying that to the child, I'd say I need to tell the DSL because I want to make sure we keep you safe. So, things to focus on: who, what, where, when. As much of the children's words as possible, stick to the fact, and make the report as soon as possible. Write it down, put it in an envelope, pass it on to the safeguarding team. Unless you are worried the child is at risk of immediate harm. So in a school context, that often means if the child goes home from school, they are at risk of harm. You do not need to talk to the DSL because the information will get there in the envelope and will be tackled and resolved in a timely manner. Times that you would want to make the DSL would be a disclosure of physical abuse with an injury on the child, or sexual abuse, or potential emotional abuse stroke neglect that is significant and would be continuing when the child returned home from school. Make sure your records are clear, comprehensive, and then the DSL team will include what was followed up and how it was resolved and any action taken. It would be appropriate next time you're in school or a day or two later to talk to a member of the DSL team and ask what happened as a result of your concern. In fact, this is very good practice. You may be given more information, or you may be told it is currently being resolved. Right. So you have a concern, you report it through My Concern system if you have a log on, or through the paper referral form in the staff room, and we'll decide what to do next. We might support in school, we might refer into the family hub or early help, or we might refer to children's services. On the right of this screen, if no one's available and there's immediate danger to the child, you can contact the children's um, advice duty service on the telephone provided, or if a parent is at the school and placing the staff or child in danger, you will want to contact the police and follow our evacuation policy. Of course, you may also have concerns about members of staff, and it's important that you are able to share these in a similar way you would with concerns about children. So, if you are concerned about a member of staff or a volunteer, it is vital that you speak to the head teacher and the head teacher only. It is me, D. Finney at trinitypartnership.norfolk.schuk. Um, these concerns cannot be written on CPOMs because they relate to staff and there's a different process I will follow. If it's about the head teacher, you can contact David Barrett at dmat.org.uk or whistleblowing at DMAT, or call the number on the screen. If you feel there's any conflict in interest, you can go straight to the LADO, Local Authority Designated Officer, on the email address below. Again, just like disclosures with children, it's vital you don't talk about this to anyone outside of, well, anyone other than myself. You cannot even talk about this to other members of the safeguarding team. And if the concern relates to the head teacher, you only talk about that with David Boward or the whistleblowing team. It's also important to share low-level concerns with myself. And again, this is no one else in the school apart from myself. And if you've noticed that a member of staff, a volunteer, someone involved in catering or grounds maintenance have been inadvertent or thoughtlessness or inappropriate for the circumstances, or ultimately intended to enable abuse, it's important that comes to me and you speak to me in person. This might be a grounds person leaving tools where children have access to them, or this might be things like knives left out where the children are collecting food, or this might be a computer logged on to the school server, where other children are around and can access sensitive documents around the school, or a computer's left logged on and adults can access that material that's sensitive and they should not have access to. Or it might be the manner in which an adult has interacted with children has left you feeling concerns. You share these with me, not any other member of the designated safeguarding team, only myself. I then share them with members of the safeguarding team within DMAT, and we have a process to follow there. The low-level concern process can be found on the DMAT policy website under low-level concerns. I will have a meeting with the member of staff. We'll create a written record. We'll talk about any changes that need to take place. We'll keep the log of that concern for 5 years. And each month I will discuss any low-level concerns with my HR advisor to see if there's any patterns that we need to address. At times, if we consider an adult is placing children in danger purposefully or behaving in a way that's harmed or potentially could harm a child or committed a criminal offence, we will refer straight to the local authority designated officer. And we will do that instantly. It says within 1 day, but as soon as we are aware of these concerns, we will refer instantly to the LADO. Please also be aware of attendance. If you notice a child is always absent, make sure you report this under a safeguarding concern. Attendance information can be seen on the link there. An example of this could be a PE coach who sees the children in their first session, and then that same child is never there for any of the other lessons, which could suggest the child's avoiding a certain day at school. Please raise that as a safeguarding concern. Right. There's a link to a quiz on the page. Please complete this and send me the certificate. This quiz would be very, very difficult if you have not completed the full safeguarding training. So this quiz is related to keeping children safe in education rather than what I have just shown you now. If you have completed the training on the key that was referenced at the start, you do not need to complete this quiz because there was a quiz already included there. So this is for volunteers, contractors, employees by other companies that have been trained by their company and have just watched this to find out about the Duchy process. Right. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. I hope you found it useful. Please let me know of any questions you have. Um, Please also complete the attached letter, which shows that you have a full understanding of the key documents and makes a statement of taking safeguarding seriously. Thank you for your time and support for the children of Duchy. As always, myself and the team of staff at Duchy are here should you have any questions. Just be aware of who you need to talk to for specific instances. If you're unsure, always come to the head teacher, myself, and if you're concerns about me, make sure that always goes to David Barrett at DMAT or whistleblowing at DMAT. Then no matter what you're reporting, it will definitely be going to the right place. Thanks again. Enjoy your day.